For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, we are live and amplified. So let's get ready to podcast.
Fire it up.
Welcome, everybody, to another live and amplified livecast. I'm your host, Tom Quiet, and we are back at it again with another amazing podcast. Today, we have a very special guest. We have John McDonough. How's it going today, John?
Good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing better now. Now that I've kind of just got work on silent, it's just like, okay, guys, leave me alone for a half hour. Just please leave me alone. So now I got the phone on silent. Hopefully my email doesn't start dinging or something. So we should be good for the next little bit. But first off, I want to thank you so much for jumping on the podcast. I'm really excited to chat with you. We found out that we have a couple of connective tissues. You're currently in Chicago. I'm from Chicago, and you lived in Austin for 25 years, and I'm currently in Waco, which
that's right.
I honestly, I need to get down to Austin. I haven't been to Austin yet. I've only been here about a year and a half, and it was one of those things where I was planning on going during South by Southwest, and South by Southwest got canceled.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like, okay, well, I'm not gonna go now.
Yeah. Well, you should wait till, things are opening up quickly in all of Texas, as you know, but Austin obviously is more fun when everything is up and running. So. Yeah.
And even from what I've been hearing, like, cause I've started building some friends and some contacts down in Austin. They've told me even the little over a year since the pandemic start, how much Austin has changed and grown just within, even when during a time when things have been shut down, Austin has still grown leaps and bounds.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
When was the last time you were down in Austin?
6 months. I moved 6 months ago.
Okay. So you moved straight from Austin to the north side of Chicago.
That's right.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And congratulations to Waco, by the way, for the men's basketball team.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure the city is going nuts, I can imagine.
Oh, yeah. That was insanity. Like, not to open up a whole nother can of worms, there were some controversial statements made, and it's like, yay. So, but anyways.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah. The car dealership. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
So, well, never a dull moment here, but I'm enjoying Waco, and, we'll see kind of what my future brings here. So,
yeah.
But before we kind of jump into your new album, all the fun stuff you've been working on, what's kind of your background? What got you into music?
Yeah, I always tell this same story, but I've always loved to sing. Mm-hmm. I remember I was a little kid and I would crank my stereo and I would sing along like I was on stage. And I just always loved to sing from as long as I can remember. And then, and I always gravitated towards the singer-songwriters, James Taylor, Harry Chapin, people like that. When I was about 13, I finally got sick of only singing along and started taking guitar lessons so I could play and sing on my own. And I did that for a while, but I was a big tennis player in high school and in the start of college. So music was always sort of took second place. But in college, I started really focusing on music, and that's when I started performing, and that's when I really started working at it with discipline and focus and consistency.
Good. And as you were kind of going through that process in college, who were some of your influences?
I remember at the time, the first thing that pops out is U2. Those my 4 years of college, U2 was huge, and I loved them as well. I remember Bryan Adams was really big, and I liked him. But even then, I still, the singer-songwriters are always the ones. That was what I started with, and that was even my favorites even then. Even when they really weren't that popular. Yeah. I remember John Hyatt during those years had his sort of comeback CD, And that was a big one too. I listened to him and I was like, oh, he's so good. So put a singer with a guitar, and that's what really, sort of gets me going.
Yeah. You brought up U2. I do have to say, I never had a problem with U2 until they had they had that deal with Apple where they uploaded the CD on everybody's iPhone.
Yes.
And I couldn't get rid of it for the life of me.
You couldn't. And
it was just like, nope, I will never listen to U2 again after that one. Like
that was really obnoxious and a bad move, and I agree. And what made it even worse is that CD was horrible. I mean, if you're gonna put it on our devices, and literally you couldn't take it off.
Yeah.
At least make it good.
Yeah. At least make it a greatest hits album where it's like, okay, these are songs that we all know, we all like. Not this. It was like a 5-song EP or something like that. It's just
I think it was a full 10-song LP, and it just was really bad. Yeah.
I just remember every time I was like, nope, skip. It was just like,
and I remember that so clearly as well. I mean, because it wasn't just you, it was me, it was all my friends. It was like, how do we get, I just couldn't believe that we couldn't get it off our devices, Somehow they finally did allow that after enough outrage.
Yeah. And because I remember like after the first week or so, I would go on the internet and be like, how do I remove U2 off of and
exactly.
Like there's these conspiracy theories going around. It's just like all kinds of craziness. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to just like, at that point, I started just listening to CDs again. Like I had my iPhone, but I wasn't listening to because I was so burnt out on having to know I was going to get U2. Yeah.
These dreaded songs were going to come up. Yes.
Yep. But it is what it is. It was a publicity stunt. It had the opportunity to work for them, but it didn't.
It backfired big time, but they made a ton of money.
Oh, I'm sure.
Whoever negotiated for them did a good job, because they made a ton of money for making an album that they didn't have to sell one copy of. So
yeah, absolutely. And so you really started to explore your musical career or musical passion in college. Where were you going to school at?
Clemson in South Carolina, University in South Carolina. Yeah. And I went there to play tennis, and I did play tennis for the first couple of years. Mm-hmm. And then I realized I realized my limitations. I realized, I sort of hit the wall as to how good I was going to get. Mm-hmm. And, playing a sport like that is really a full-time, it's a lot of time and effort. And when I realized I wasn't going to be good enough to really go pro, and I have these other interests, one of them being music, that's when I decided I was going to stop playing tennis. And like I said, I started taking guitar lessons and piano lessons and voice lessons, and sort of applied that same discipline that I had in tennis all those years to music.
Nice.
Yeah.
Would you start taking lessons on first? Was it guitar or piano? Or
guitar was at first. Yeah. Yeah.
What was it about the guitar, or was it just the whole singer-songwriter thing?
Well, it was the whole singer-songwriter thing, but it was James Taylor, Fire and Rain was my favorite song. And I wanted to play and be able to play and sing that song more than anything. And so that's what, that was, I think, the main impetus of starting with the guitar.
Gotcha. Cool.
Yeah.
So you just released a new album back in March. Second Chances. What's kind of the story behind this album?
Sure. So in 2014, I released a CD called Dreams and Imagination. And in 2016, I released a CD called Surrounding Colors. Mm-hmm. And this last year with the pandemic, I've had a lot of time, all my gigs stopped. I had a tour, I had to cancel. So just a lot of downtime, as we all know. Yep. And, but it was good for me in one way, in that I really got to focus on my guitar playing for the first time. I wasn't so busy, gigging and things like that, that I was able to really just sit down with the guitar and really focus on my guitar playing. And in that time, I came up with new arrangements for some of these older songs that I liked better. I thought they were more interesting. And, in this 2016 release, I did go a little bit more electric. And I'm proud of the CD, but I realize now that really I'm an acoustic artist.
Yeah.
And so I had these new arrangements for some of the songs, and the other songs I liked, I just wanted to re-record them acoustically. So, and like I said, it was the pandemic. I had nothing going on. So I'm like, this is a really good opportunity. So I went into the studio to make this. It's an acoustic CD, and it's just 2 acoustic guitars, and it's strings, and then and 2 vocals. And so that's how it sort of came about. And that's why it's called Second Chances, because I thought the songs were good.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them needed a little more reworking, and some of them just needed to be re-recorded.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited about it, because I was a little nervous about it, but it came out better than I expected. And I just think it really sort of, I feel like the songs were recorded as they should have been, in the first place. They're just, yeah.
Actually, it's interesting that you bring all this up, because for the last few days, I've been really interested in finding out why musicians don't revisit music. Like, say they release an album early on, and so they're early on in their career, they release an album, and then they don't there's certain songs that they like, but the recording's bad, or the song, or like the musicality just doesn't match what they are now, or stuff like that. And I've been really interested why people or musicians don't go back and revisit those songs. And it's like, rework them or re-record them, or, just like make them new. And I've been focusing very heavy on social media of trying to just have those conversations of why certain musicians don't revisit music. Like, if there was a song that just wasn't or that you released that just didn't work at the time, whether people didn't connect with it, or, whatever, or you were too young and naive to understand what you had, so.
Right. And, if you're working hard at your craft, like I have been, and you're evolving as a musician, hopefully, and getting better, like I said, it's also an opportunity to take a song that's, in my opinion, like some of the songs, they were like 90% there.
Yeah.
I just wasn't good enough at the time to sort of make it, what it should be.
Yeah.
And now I am, so, and I love when artists do that. I mean, I listen to rock music, I listen to pop music, some pop music, and I love when artists put out acoustic versions of their songs, So I've wanted to do this for a long time. And like I said, I'm just so excited with it. It just came out. Like I said, honestly, I was nervous, because when you do something so stripped down, it really puts it to the test.
Yeah.
Is this song good enough?
It puts the song to the test, because is it good enough to just stand there and be what it is?
Right.
And it also puts you to the test. Are you good enough to present the song the way it needs to be presented and showcase everything?
And that's exactly right. And so, but I feel like, the CD just came out beautifully. And it's, even though I was very strict, I said that going in, I said 2 acoustic guitars, a string section, 2 vocals, and that's it. We're not adding anything more. And, but I feel like it's varied enough, and it doesn't get boring. So I'm really happy with it.
Awesome. So this Second Chances is a collection, almost like a best of type, or not even like a best of, but like a collection of songs from previous albums.
That's right. So it's from the 2 CDs from 2014 and 2016. I took the songs from those 2 CDs. I also had a CD in 2019, excuse me, but I was very happy with that in all the ways it came out.
Yeah.
It was these older CDs that it was either the songs I felt, there were some songs that I wanted to rework that I thought could be more interesting and more engaging.
Mm-hmm.
And then there were some songs that I thought were good. I just wanted to record them acoustically, because I felt like they would be better that way. Gotcha. And so that's how I chose the songs. Yeah.
Gotcha. And so I'll kind of let you pick one song specifically. Is there any song on Second Chances that is completely 100% different than when you originally recorded it on the original album?
Yes. So there's one especially, number 4, I Wish I Could Fly.
Mm-hmm.
That one is probably the most rearranged of all of them.
Okay.
And and again, I just think it's I love the new version. I think it's really captures the song. It's more interesting. I took out a few things that's a little bit shorter, and I just think it's great. Yeah. But that was the one that's most different. Yeah.
Gotcha. I was going to let you kind of pick that one because I could sit here and say, oh, this song compared to the original, I'm not. Yeah. I figured I'd just let you pick that one. So this is your 8th studio album, correct?
That's right. Yeah.
How's kind of from like looking at your catalog of work, how's your creative process kind of changed?
Two things I would say. Two things. I spend a lot more time working on songs now than I did when I used to. In the past, I sort of would. I felt if I started writing a song, I'd be like, I'm gonna write the song if it kills me, and even if it wasn't working, I'm like, I'm gonna make it work, and if it was, I didn't have a lot of patience. It's still not my strong suit, but it really was not my strong suit back then. So I think I sort of wrote in the beginning, I wrote songs and I finished them and I said, that's good. Let's move on. And now I don't do that. Now I'll work on a song much longer. Mm-hmm. Another big way it's changed is I always joke about this. I can only write so many songs about being in love or lack of love. And after a while that bores me. I think it bores the audience. There's only so much I can say with that. And I read all the time. I watch documentaries, and I'm really moved by true life stories of other people that have had experiences I would never have. Mm-hmm. And I started drawing a lot of inspiration to write songs based on that. And I find I write a lot of songs based on other people's lives. And like I said, it's very satisfying for me, and it just gives me something fresh and new to say, and it allows me to share things with the audience. And I didn't do that when I was younger. And I was younger, it was always, all about me and whatever I was going through. Yeah.
Gotcha. So like nowadays, you're not afraid to let a song percolate and just kind of, if it's missing something, you'll let it like sit there until you kind of figure it out. Is that kind of a fair way to present it?
That's exactly right. I will sit with it and I'll keep working with it. And sometimes you have to kill your babies. I tell other musicians, and if something's not working, even if I've worked months on a song, if it's still just not working, I will throw it out and just move on. And sometimes that happens. And yes.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's got to be even a little bit more interesting with you being a solo musician, kind of going through the writing process, because it's like the buck stops with you and there's nobody else to answer to. Whereas when you're in a group, it's like, okay, well, I'm counting on him to write the bass lines, counting on him or them to write the rhythm guitar section or the drum section or the leads or the vocals or the whatever. Right. So it's like being a solo musician, it's kind of all on you.
That's right. And when the CD's done, it's all on me. Yeah. If there's something I'm not happy with, then it's my fault for not, changing it at the time or, and I always say that, like, I have a producer I've worked with the last few CDs and I love him. He's great. We get along great. I think he's great. But there have been some times when we've been like, sort of butted heads on a few things, mm-hmm. which is good. That's the job of a producer.
Yeah.
And sometimes I've given in and sometimes I haven't. But either way, I have to make sure I'm happy with that decision, because when the CD's done, he's moved on and I'm the one who has to sit there and listen to it over and over.
Yeah. And you have producers that they care about that project at that moment.
Yes.
But that producer's also got 6 people behind you that he's also got to worry about and produce for. So the second your project's done,
that's right. He's moved on. Yeah. Yes.
So, unless they were just very actively involved in the production and the birthing of songs and the entire concept, 9 times out of 10, they're moving on as soon as the mix is done. And it's
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Where did you record Second Chances? Was that done in Austin, or was that done in Chicago?
In Austin. It was funny because, like I said, the pandemic hit, and I realized, the first half of the pandemic was me just spending a lot of time with the guitar. Then the second half was me like realizing this is a good chance to do this recording.
Mm-hmm.
In the middle of all of that is when I sort of made the commitment to move to Chicago.
Yeah.
And so things got crazy, as you can imagine, selling a house, moving while I'm trying to record the CD.
Yeah.
And literally my last day in the studio, the next day I packed my car and left for Chicago. So, I mean, it was really up against the wire. Yeah. Like, we got to get this done because tomorrow I'm leaving.
Yep. I completely understand that one.
Yes.
Completely. So where are you kind of at creatively right now? Like, obviously the Second Chances was like a collection of previous songs, so there wasn't much writing going on. You were reworking songs and stuff like that, but you weren't like starting from ground zero.
That's right.
Where are you kind of at creatively right now?
Well, I'm always writing new songs, and I actually have almost enough material for a new CD.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I know. And I was thinking about that too. I was like, do I just go for the new CD, or do I make this acoustic CD?
Yeah.
And sort of going back to what we talked about earlier, I was like, even though I've got the material, I'm one or two songs short.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to be forcing it, trying to crank out a couple of new songs to make this happen. And that's exactly what we talked about earlier.
Yep.
And so that's when I was like, no, I'm just going to do the acoustic CD. That'll give me time to really flesh out these new songs, write some more songs, and go from there. So I am already, though, it's weird because the CD just came out in March.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't really been able to support it like I would like to because I can't play.
Yeah.
Part of me is already thinking about the new CD, and then I had to remind myself, no, I have this new CD, right here that I need to keep working on in terms of promotion. But I'm very excited about the new songs. Most of them I've played live at some point, but not even all of them. Not all of them have been heard yet. So I'm already thinking, though, like, maybe next year, I'll get back in the studio.
Yeah. Absolutely. When you've got the content, you got to go for it, right?
Right.
Like,
yes.
I mean, tomorrow's not guaranteed, so.
Right. That's right.
Like, there's no sense in holding on. Like, so for this, the next project potential, would you come back to Austin to record, or would you try and find somewhere locally in Chicago? Yeah,
I think I would come back because I love Austin. So to go back for a month and make a CD, first of all, would be a blast.
Yeah.
And like I said, I love my producer, and I have these other handful of musicians that I've worked with on these other CDs, and I know they're great. I know I like working with them. And so I'm already thinking it'd be fun to go back. Like I said, stay for a month or 6 weeks, see my old friends, work on the CD, do it during the winter so I get out of here when it's 30 below, and
get out in like January when
So I've already got it. I've already got it sort of planned out.
Yeah.
And to your point too, like, these days, people expect new music all the time. Yeah. And so you have to stay on it. If you go too long without doing it, people will forget about you. Yeah. So,
well, that goes into like the whole, like, just finding out what release strategy works for you. Like, I talked to a lot of musicians, and everybody has different release strategies. It's release a single every 6 weeks, or I release an EP every 6 months, just kind of whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's like, it just kind of depends on what your ultimate goal and what your schedule is. Like, if you're a musician that's out tour, like you're just constantly touring, releasing albums makes sense because you're playing in front of a different crowd every night. You're promoting the album. You're not necessarily worried about Spotify's streams and all that stuff, you've got your hard copy album that you're pushing.
Right.
Whereas if you're one of these musicians that doesn't get out and tour that often, but they stay kind of in Nashville, Austin, Chicago, like whatever their city is, the singles makes more sense because you need to kind of just continually keep yourself on the top of that algorithm, because even though they say, oh, there's no algorithm, no, there's an algorithm. Right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
There very much is. So
yeah. And I don't know how honestly, I don't know how my fan base feels about it so well. Personally, I know how I feel though.
Yeah. With
other musicians, I personally like, and that's why I do it like this myself, I prefer a new album every couple of years. Mm-hmm. I prefer a full body of work that represents sort of where you are at this time. And then I prefer, give me a chance to miss you and get excited about something new. Some of the artists, even though I like them, that are doing the every 6 weeks, every month, it seems like a new CD, and they're constantly in your face pushing this new material. And I'm sort of like, oh my God, leave me alone for like 3 minutes. And, but I think the kids are different. Obviously, I'm older and I come from that generation where, albums came out every few years. But that's personally still how I prefer. Yeah. I prefer it.
For me, it's honestly, I'd much rather have like an artist could drop like an EP, like a full body of work. Yeah, that's cool. But I think once you start getting into a full length album, you start running that risk of, okay, I have 8 songs here. I need 10 to make it an album. Let's shoehorn in 2 deep cuts that nobody's going to really listen to. Whereas if you release an album or an EP, it's finely tuned, it's crafted, there's 5 songs, they're there for a reason. Let's listen to it and push it to the moon. So for me personally, I like the EPs. I like listening to songs that have like connective tissue. Mm-hmm. So you go song 1, 2, listen to it in order.
Yes. Yes, because I agree with that too. I definitely think there can be and should be a flow to an album, and but I like your idea of an EP too. So I'll have to rethink that maybe.
Because for me, it's like I understand the idea of like labels not wanting musicians to release every 2 or 3 years, because then you're in front of the spotlight and then you're gone. Mm-hmm. You're in front of this and then you're gone. Like, I think I've kind of been fine tuning it. Like, I think an EP every like 9 months is probably like an optimal release schedule without having to do the singles and then just kind of blowing your wad and, kind of stuck there. So, but so outside of music, what's a day in the life of John McDonough?
Well, the last 12 months, even before I moved here, I spent the last year pretty much here for the most part because of the pandemic. My family is in the area. I have a younger sister and a 10-year-old niece who I'm very close with. Yeah. And so I spend a lot of time with them, especially with the 10-year-old niece. I'm very have a lot of fun with her. Yeah. So that's sort of where it is right now. I'm either working on music or spending time with them. And when this is over, I will start playing gigs again. I'll start touring again, and I'll be away from home some more. And also, I still have to meet people. Like I said, I've only been here 6 months. Yeah. So I have some friends up here, but I need to get out and make, my own group of friends as well. Yeah. We joke. My 10-year-old niece is like, John, you can't hang out with me and my friends. You got to go out,
That's funny.
So a day in the life it's very satisfying, but it's pretty slow right now. I will have to admit,
I mean, I will say, being in Chicago during the summer, baseball games are a must. Like, just being on the north side, I guess you'd want to go to a Cubs game. Like, Wrigley Field's cool, but it's not my scene. I'm on the south side. I'd get killed if I
Yeah, if you venture that way, yeah.
I mean, I've been to Wrigley. Don't get me wrong. Wrigley's cool. Like if you go and just kind of experience it for what it is,
Mhm.
it's really cool. But yeah, like
Yeah.
just being out, like there's a lot of cool things to do in Chicago.
And even so much, I mean, I love the lake. I mean, the lake is amazing. And so just riding my bike and enjoying those things is so much fun here, especially coming from Texas where the summers are 110 degrees in the shade.
Yeah.
Here I can come and do things outdoors and it's really fun. Yeah.
And it's one of those things where Chicago, like a lot of people ask me why I didn't like living in Chicago, like why I had to move, why I didn't like it. And it's like, they always compare, like, oh, we went to Chicago, we had so much fun. I was like, yeah, you went to touristy Chicago.
Yeah.
You went to the museum, you went to Navy Pier, you went to the Bean, you went to touristy Chicago,
Right.
which is fun the first 2 times you go, but you go any more than that, and it's just kind of like, okay, I've seen
That's
it.
right.
Cool.
That's right.
So, like go to real Chicago, experience real Chicago, and it's just kind of, it's a different vibe, and you're either going to like it or you're not going to like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just got to kind of make that decision. So
yeah, that's right. Another reason I moved here is I've learned also, music is changing in places. Texas, I think, has gotten more country, a little bit more conservative than it was when I moved there, even Austin. And I feel like the East Coast, my music is going to go much better on the East Coast. So I wanted to be closer to the East Coast to tour there.
Yeah.
And also I've toured around this area a lot. And, Chicago, Milwaukee, Madison, I feel like my music goes over well there. So, so that was another reason why I wanted to end up in this area.
Well, and I'm going to just say this, like touring in the Southwest is not easy.
Brutal.
I drive, like, we have a radio, or I'm a co-host of a radio show out in Roswell, New Mexico. Okay. I drive 8.5 hours once a month to go to New Mexico to record a batch of episodes. And then, I come back. That 8.5 hour drive is the most mind-numbing drive I take in a given month.
That's right. And that's what I would always tell people too. I'm like, it takes me 6 hours just to get out of Texas when I'm trying to tour from, Austin.
Yeah.
And, so it doesn't really work so good. I love the West, and I've toured the West once. I mean, and I loved it, but also it was brutal. It was 6 hours in between gigs to get from, wherever. On the East Coast, it's, 20 minutes from city to city.
But I will say, living in the West and the Southwest in general, like Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, it does prepare you and condition you to be okay with taking long drives. Whereas, okay, so I moved out to New Mexico, and the idea of taking a 3-hour drive just to get to the next city was like, no, I'm not doing that, because living in Chicago, an 1.5-hour drive was like the longest thing.
Right.
So now, like after making that 3-hour drive, and then every once in a while it'd be like, oh, you got to go to Dallas for that. That's an 8-hour drive. And it's just starts conditioning you for 3 hours, 8 hours. And now I'll go hop in my car and I'll put down 18 hours driving. And it's just like, yeah, it wasn't fun, but whatever.
Yeah. Right.
So, and it's really funny when you get people from like Chicago and the East Coast that have never had to book Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, that they'll book like Dallas and then have to go down to, I don't know, say El Paso. Like they'll book a Dallas, El Paso with no day in between. And it's like, you realize that's like a 12-hour drive, right?
Exactly.
That is like literally a 12-hour drive, guys.
Right. It's brutal. Brutal. Yeah. And then it's funny because Europe is even worse. Like my God, you go to Europe and the people are like, we have a 3-hour drive to our next gig, and they just think it's the end of the world. If you're from the Southwest, you're like, hey, 3 hours, that's not bad.
That's cake. Actually, I had a musician on from the UK, and we were talking about it, and she's like, oh, I'm sitting here complaining about the 1.5-hour drive. I'm sure that's nothing for you. And I'm like, yeah, I drive an 1.5 hours to get to go to not to go to work. I drive like 20 minutes to get to work, but it's just like I drive an hour and a half to get to the next town over because they got the better Best Spot. It's just
right. Exactly. And Austin's grown so much it takes you an hour just to get from one side of the city to the other.
Yeah.
So it's a whole different world. Yeah, everything is relative. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. Yeah, well, we could sit here and talk about that all day long, like just the insanity that is touring the Southwest.
Yes.
So you're in Chicago now. When there isn't a global pandemic canceling everything, how often are you usually playing shows?
I like to play once or twice a week. That's ideal.
Mm-hmm.
I have played more than that, and when I play, there was a stretch where I felt I was playing like, now touring is different, but this is like normal life.
Yeah.
If I was playing like 3 to 4 times a week, normal life, it doesn't leave me really then you have to give yourself time for your voice to recover. And it doesn't give you much time to write or practice or work on anything else. It's just gigging and then recovering. So once or twice a week is ideal. Mm-hmm. And then of course I like to, about every 3 months, try to plan a 3-week tour, 3-week to a month tour where I'm out playing more than that.
Yeah.
And then that's really perfect too, because I get out, I see new places, I have fun. At the end of that 3 weeks to a month, I'm ready to come back home and be in my house again. Yeah. And then after about 3 months in my house, I'm getting sort of itchy and I'm ready to go back out. So that seems to work good for me.
Yeah. Gotcha. Where's one place that you haven't played yet that you really want to play, whether it be like a city or a state or a country?
First off is I would say Europe. I love Europe. I've been there many times, and I love it, and I'm dying to get over there to play.
Yeah. I
was planning on getting over there this last year, and obviously that didn't work.
Yeah.
So now my goal is, and I have a promoter over there. So 2022, we're talking about getting over there. So that is sort of on the top of my list.
Nice.
And then after that, I love Boston, Washington, D.C. I'm really excited I haven't played those places yet, but I think my music will go over very well there, and I'm very excited to pursue that. New York City,
I've not been that far up the East Coast. I've been to D.C., but that's about as far up the East Coast as I've been. And it's just seems like a completely different world there that it'd be really interesting to go see what it's like. Like
exactly.
My sound engineer, he's actually from Boston, and he tells me all these horror stories about, whenever we go to Boston, I'm driving. You're not driving in Boston. And I'm like, why? He's like, well, you're an aggressive driver, but you're not Boston aggressive. And I'm like, what does that even mean? He's like, trust me, Boston aggressive. And I'm like, okay. Whatever.
I've driven in Boston a couple times. I didn't think it was that bad, to be honest, or that aggressive. I didn't have a hard time with it. But I will say I have thought of this. I have a little RV that when I tour.
Yeah.
And I have thought like, oh my God, driving this thing like through New York City, that's gonna be insane. But I'm like, we'll just deal with that when the time comes.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be my big concern, would be driving through New York City, just because it's so damn expensive to do anything in New York. It's just kind of like, I'd much rather just park out of the city and then just figure out how to get around once we're in the city.
And that's probably what I'll end up doing when I go there. Exactly. Yeah.
And it'll probably be a lot easier for you to get to New York from Chicago. Doing it from Austin, that's quite the haul. But
again, from where I am now to the East Coast, it's an easy one-day drive. And it's a one-day drive, and I can start my tour, go up and down the East Coast. And as we talked about, I mean, there's a different city every 30 minutes. So it's going to be amazing. Yeah. Like I said, in Texas, it literally took me 6 hours just to get out of Texas. Yeah. And then to your point, it's about another 20 hours to get to New York City. Yeah. So, so I think I'm in a better situation here.
I remember the first time I drove. I was living out in Roswell. My parents live in South Florida. and we were going down to the Florida Keys. Me and my sound engineer. We're going from Roswell to the Florida Keys for a bluegrass festival. And so we drove through. Cool. It took us 22 some odd hours, whatever. Wasn't that bad of a for two people driving. It wasn't that bad of a drive. And then we were coming back, and at the end of not the end of the first day, but the first road trip back, or first day of the road trip back, it was getting to the end of the day, like whatever. And my mom's like, "Oh, so how far or where are you guys at?" And I was like, "Oh, we're just entering. We're just about to cross the border from Louisiana to Texas." She's like, "Oh, so you're almost home?" I'm like, "No, we've still got like 14 hours." Like,
Right.
yeah. So, and like, which is very funny because earlier that day we had already been on the road for like 7 hours, and she's like, "Oh, where are you guys at?" And I was like, "We're still in Florida." It's like, "Did you guys hit traffic?" And I'm like, "Ma, we're driving from South Florida,
Yeah.
and we have to go across the Panhandle. It takes like 8-9 hours. Like,
Exactly.
it's Saturday." And she's like,
Yes.
"Yeah, I didn't think about that." And I'm like,
Yeah. Right.
"It's all good. It's all good. I completely get it." So
that's a haul. Roswell to South Florida, though. That is a haul for sure.
it's an amazing drive, though. Like, if you ever got bored, jump on 10, take 10 all the way down, all the way across to the turnpike, and you're good. Like, it's a crazy drive. It's a cool drive.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But so, album out. You released a music video for Second Chances, right?
Yes, there's been 2 videos out.
Okay,
the first one is just a lyric video for a song called "The Place Where I Belong" that I wrote about John Denver. And so I just wanted it to be, it's just beautiful imagery of the mountains, basically. And it's, with the lyrics.
Yeah.
And then I just made a second, the next single is called "Nowhere Else to Run." And I made a video for that just came out. And I'm really excited with it also. I think it came out really good. The song that song is actually about a monument in Berlin that's dedicated to the war victims of World War II.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very powerful monument. They have a lot of monuments in in Germany, and they're all powerful, but this one really got me. And I just couldn't get it out of my head. And when I came home, I wrote a song about it, and it's one of my favorite songs and one that really connects with people. And so I made the video around here in Chicago, and I think I captured it pretty well. One reviewer said that he said, "I think John actually recorded this in Germany." And so I was very proud of myself. I was like, okay, I did a pretty good job.
Well, that does make sense. Like, there is a very strong German community in Chicago. Mm-hmm. So like, if you could just find, I don't want to call it Little Germany because that just sounds weird, but there is places where you can get nice German architecture.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So I felt good about that. I haven't corrected them yet.
You're just going to let it sit there.
Yeah, I'll just let it. Yeah, I'll let people think it was in Germany. Sure.
Right. And then you brought up "The Place Where I Belong," a song about John Denver, who's also from Roswell, New Mexico. We talked about that a little bit ago.
That's right.
I never knew that until I was in New Mexico, and somebody had done, or one of the local musicians put on this New Mexico cover song challenge. So all the local musicians had to do a cover of a New Mexico native musician. Mm. So a lot of people were doing a lot of the same songs. And then one guy came in and did John Denver. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, wait, what? What's going on here? And he's like, yeah, John Denver. He's from Roswell. And I'm like, wait, what? Yeah. And so.
Yeah. I forgot about that, but I did know that's right. Yeah.
So those music videos are out well, and you'd say those are the 2 lead singles off Second Chance?
That's right. Yeah. And
are you working on a third video, or is it just kind of the 2? And
no, I will definitely do a third one. I'm just not sure which one it's going to be yet, to be honest.
got you.
I got it's between two songs. I at least know that, and I just have to decide which one. But nowhere else to run. That one's pretty new, so I have a little time to work with still. But yeah. Yeah, and those videos are on my YouTube channel, which is John M Live, just JOHNM Live. And if you want to go check them out, I'd appreciate it. That'd be great.
Absolutely. Which leads me to my next question. If anybody wants to check out what you got going on, where's the best place for them to do that? Social or?
Yeah, so this is, I did this a while ago to make it easy for people because, as you know, my name is a mouthful and it's hard to spell. So I actually, I was on Twitter and I got off Twitter, but I went back on Twitter. My account is, again, it's the same. It's John M Live. And if you go there, I don't really have anything on there except the first tweet are links to all my pages, and it makes it really easy. So you have my website, Facebook page, Instagram page, YouTube channel, and you can decide where you want to follow me there, whatever you like, whatever the person likes best. But again, so if you go to John M Live on Twitter, the very first tweet is all of those links, and then you can, like I said, decide where to go from there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, John, it's been a blast sitting here chatting with you. Really appreciate you giving us the time to sit down and talk. One question, the most controversial question I could possibly ask. Being that you are currently now based out of Chicago, pineapple pizza, yes or no?
Oh, yes, 100%. Oh, no.
I don't say that too loud in the streets of Chicago. You may get ran out of town.
That shows, I guess I'm from Texas, doesn't it? Or I've spent the last 25
that you're not
years
from Chicago.
But I'm not from Chicago. Yeah.
It just because I've learned that pineapple on pizza is a very coastal and southern thing. So I don't know why it's a coastal thing, but it just kind of seems like a lot of people on the East Coast, West Coast, and I guess South Coast, like that sounds really weird to say too, but it's a very coastal and southern thing.
That makes sense though, because the pineapple, you sort of associate that with the beach and tropical, more weather. So it makes sense. Yeah. But oh boy, I am so sorry that I failed that so miserably.
No,
but,
you didn't fail it. It's just I was hoping for one answer, being that you're in Chicago now, but. Yeah. So,
but I'm glad we had this moment because I will not make that mistake in downtown Chicago. I can promise you now.
Do not go to Gino's asking for a deep dish pineapple pizza. They will probably laugh you out of the building.
They will throw me out right then and there. That's right.
But once again, thank you so much for jumping on. It's been a blast chatting with you. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and we will catch you guys later.
Yeah, thank you too. It's been great.
Cool. We are good.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome. That was fun. Thanks.